history. This episode was the Holocaust, a genocide of unimaginable proportions, a systematic murder that was perpetrated against the Jews by the Nazi regime led by the German dictator Adolf Hitler over a period of many years. The present gathering in Jerusalem includes heads of state from the kings of Spain, Belgium and the Netherlands, Britain's Prince Charles and the presidents of Russia, France, Germany, Italy and Ukraine. They are in Israel to speak out against anti-Semitism some 75 years after the liberation of Auschwitz, the largest of the Nazi death camps. The turnout of the world leaders highlights the seriousness with which anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence is being viewed today in both the West and in Israel. Our focus in In-Depth today is the Holocaust itself, the enormous scale of the crime and the tragedy, the death camp of Auschwitz and the trials that brought to book some of the perpetrators of the tragedy. The Fifth World Holocaust Forum, titled Remembering the Holocaust, Fighting Anti-Semitism, is being held in Jerusalem starting tomorrow. The event marks the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. The World Holocaust Forum is a series of high-profile events targeted at preserving the memories of the atrocities of the Holocaust and other events of World War II.
Leaders from as many as 49 countries arrived in Israel ahead of the Fifth World Holocaust Forum in Jerusalem. Titled Remembering the Holocaust, Fighting Anti-Semitism, the event commemorates 75 years since the 1945 liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. Russian President Vladimir Putin, US Vice President Mike Pence, Britain's Prince Charles and French President Emmanuel Macron are the most prominent names on the long list of attendees that also includes 4 kings and many leaders from countries like Australia, Canada, Germany, Italy, Ukraine and Argentina. Welcoming the delegates for the largest diplomatic event in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the gathering will focus on the importance of remembering the Holocaust and combating anti-Semitism. Israeli President Rivlin said that the purpose of holding the event is to think about how to pass on the remembrance of Holocaust to generations who will live in a world without survivors, and what steps we must take to ensure the safety of Jews all around the world.
The Fifth World Holocaust Forum, which is going to begin from today, 22nd of January, and it begins with a dinner in Israel, is an event where 49 states are coming together to mark the 75th anniversary of the Holocaust. The reason is that Israel, a country of Jews, the Holy Land, which is called as land of these people, Jews, this is the place where all these countries have come together in order to pay respect, to remember, to identify that what kind of atrocities the Jewish population has gone through during the period of Holocaust. And as the Prime Minister of Israel was saying, that we want to show the world from where we started, and from where we started, what have we undergone or what have we gone through and what we have achieved. So the event is going to begin tonight, Wednesday evening.
Security around Jerusalem was tightened ahead of the event on 23rd of January. Around 6,300 police officers from different units are taking part in the operation to ensure the safety of dignitaries from around the world.
Israeli National Police are carrying out security measures both at Ben Gurion International Airport as well as in Jerusalem, as world leaders are arriving in Israel for the World Holocaust Forum, which is taking place in Yad Vashem, marking the 75th liberation of Auschwitz. Involved in the security operation is more than 6,300 police officers from counter-terrorism units, undercover units, border police and special patrol units that will be implementing security. There are no specific warnings that we've received whatsoever, and full coordination is being made by security services that have come in overseas and are working together with the Israeli National Police, both in the area of Yad Vashem in the capital Jerusalem, at the hotels where world leaders will be staying, and those security measures will continue throughout the next 24 to 48 hours until the weekend.
The main memorial ceremony is being held at Yad Vashem Warsaw Ghetto Square. Holocaust survivors Rose Moskowitz and Colette Evital will light a memorial torch, while world leaders will lay wreaths at the base of Nathan Rappaport's Warsaw Ghetto Uprising Monument. Interspersing speeches by leaders, short clips about the Holocaust and contemporary anti-Semitism will be shown, while an orchestra and several choirs will provide musical interludes. Several artists are expected to perform songs for approximately 600 people attending the event in Russian and Hebrew, including the St. Petersburg Opera Choir, opera singer Vasily Geralo, and a choir of Israeli Red Army veterans. IDF cantor Shai Abramson will recite the El Mahle Rahamim Memorial Prayer, and Holocaust survivor Naftali Tuli Deutsch will say Kaddish, the traditional Jewish mourner's prayer. The ceremony will conclude with a moment of silence and Israel's national anthem.
We have a forum in which all these people would be coming together. There would be kind of sharing of experiences of these people, commemorating and remembering those who have gone through these hardships, and a kind of platform where the world is going to come together and also realize the importance of sharing and cooperating now, because if something escalates further under the very uncertain set of circumstances, the world may face a very severe set of consequences, just like Second World War.
In one of the most brutal episodes in history, at least 1.1 million people, mostly Jews, were murdered at Auschwitz, the largest of the Nazi death camp. In the weeks before Red Army troops arrived on 27th of January 1945, thousands of prisoners were shot, tens of thousands more forced onto death marches, and many of the gas chambers destroyed. While the Soviet army entered Auschwitz on 27th of January, they found approximately 7,600 sick or emaciated detainees who had been left behind. The liberators also discovered mounds of corpses, hundreds of thousands of pieces of clothing and pairs of shoes, and 7 tons of human hair that had been shaved from detainees before their liquidation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
As UNESCO's event in the memory of Holocaust victims get underway, the focus is on the Nazi concentration camp in Auschwitz. This was considered World War II's deadliest concentration camp that operated in German-occupied Poland from 1940 until its liberation on January 27, 1945.
US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visiting the museum at the former Auschwitz concentration camp in southern Poland on Tuesday. Pelosi led a delegation of American representatives to the site to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the camp's liberation by Soviet soldiers. Auschwitz was the largest and the deadliest of the 6 dedicated extermination camps set up by Germany. Hundreds of thousands of people were tortured and murdered here during World War II and the Holocaust under the orders of Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler. As one of the greatest tragedies of the modern age, the Holocaust inspired countless films and books.
אנחנו לא ידענו, רצינו להיות ביחד, היינו מחובקים. כאשר אנחנו עברנו, כנראה נראיתי בגלל המעיל הפרווה השחור, שאימי בגלל שירד שלג נתן לי על כתפיי. אולי הגרמני חשב שאני יותר מבוגרת, נתן לי מכה, הפיל אותי על הרצפה, ומהר מכניס את
The scale of these horrors can be grasped from the facts associated with the death camp that operated in German-occupied Poland from 1940 until its liberation on 27th of January 1945. Auschwitz I, or the main camp, was set up in May 1940. Its first victims were gassed in September 1941. Auschwitz II, the second concentration and extermination camp, was built with several gas chambers. It opened in October 1941. Between 1940 and 1945, Auschwitz developed into a vast complex of barracks, workshops, gas chambers, and crematoriums where about 1.3 million people were kept, of whom 1.1 million died. The death toll includes 960,000 Jews, 74,000 non-Jewish Poles, and the third most numerous, about 21,000 Romas. The camps became a major expression of the Nazis' final solution to the Jewish question.
בסוף הצריף היה שם כלוב. כלוב כמו של חיות. כמו ששמים קופים, שפנים, לא יודעת. חיות. תתפשטו, תשבו שם. אמא, אנחנו, אחותי ואני, ועוד זוג תאומות זהות, קצת יותר מבוגרות מאיתנו, אולי בגיל בנות 10, משהו כזה.
Here are the numbers behind World War II's deadliest Auschwitz concentration camp. The camp operated for 5 years from 1940 to 1945. 1.3 million people were sent to the death camp, out of whom 1.1 million prisoners, or about 85% of people, were murdered in the camp. About 7,000 people were freed when the Allies liberated the camps. Most of them were very ill or close to death. Weeks earlier, with Soviet forces approaching the camp system, nearly 60,000 prisoners were evacuated and forced to march away from the complex on what are today known as death marches. More than 15,000 people died on these marches, succumbing to exposure, starvation, or cold weather. The camps were built over 500 acres. Today, 155 buildings and 300 ruins remain on the site. 232,000 children were sent to Auschwitz. 110,000 pairs of shoes were left behind by the victims. A giant pile of shoes left behind by the camp's victims are preserved by the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation, whose inventory also comprises suitcases, eyeglasses, uniforms, etc. 928 prisoners attempted to escape, of whom 196 were successful in getting away. They lived to see the end of the war. 8,400 people ran the camp over its 5-year tenure.
The people stopped thinking normally, you know. The old things of all people there were how to get a piece of bread and how not to get killed or by Germans.
Auschwitz was liberated on 27th of January 1945 by the advancing Soviet army, whose stunned soldiers released the 7,000 emaciated prisoners left behind as the Germans withdrew. Only 789 Auschwitz staff ever stood trial. Most cases were pursued in Poland and the Federal Republic of Germany, while some 673 were eventually charged of crimes and were sentenced to death or spent years in prison. Many of them acquitted of their crimes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Uncertainty, fear and death marked the condition of the Jews in Hitler-led Nazi regime in Germany from the 1930s till the end of World War II. From the beginning, Hitler's policy was to exterminate Jews and other groups that did not fit into the Aryan race and ideology. And by 1945, the Nazi final solution to the Jewish question had led to the world's largest genocide, the Holocaust, that killed over 6 million Jews in Germany and German-occupied territories in Europe.
Holocaust, the world's largest genocide, is one of the most horrific terms in human history. It was the systematic state-sponsored prosecution and mass murder of over 6 million European Jews by the German Nazi regime between 1941 and 1945. Across Nazi Germany and German-occupied Europe, the murders were carried out in pogroms, mass shootings, gas chambers, extermination camps, reckless medical experiments, and working Jews endlessly to their deaths in concentration camps.
What had happened in the history during the Second World War, particularly when we talk about the massive killing of Jews, Polish people, prisoners of war, and people who were considered to be not fit in the society. So, Holocaust, particularly during the Second World War, is a phase in history of humanity which can be seen as the darkest or the black spot in human history. The reason is that we tend to see this as a point of time where millions of people were killed. If we go back into the history and political setup of Europe at that point of time, particularly, and when the Third Reich and power came into the hands of Hitler, what had happened, there was a kind of ethnic cleansing is a very soft word in this context, if I say, because Holocaust is something which is at a massive scale as compared to a couple of murders or killings. So the Germans, they had a kind of idea or perspective that anybody who does not fit into the superiority of German race framework needs to be exterminated or needs to be finished.
The Holocaust era began with Hitler taking over as the Chancellor of Germany in January 1933. In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe stood at over 9 million. The Nazis, led by Hitler, considered Jews an inferior race that posed the deadliest menace to the Germans. They also blamed them for the economic depression and Germany's surrender in World War I. In March 1933, the first concentration camp opened in Dachau. Throughout the 1930s, the Nazis steadily curtailed the legal, economic and social rights of the Jews. Jewish businesses were boycotted and forcibly sold to Germans. They were disbarred from civil services, practicing law, medicine, journalism, writing books, owning farms, attending schools and universities. German authorities also targeted other groups based on race like gypsies, people with disabilities, Slavic people, Soviet prisoners of war and blacks. Communists, socialists, Jehovah's Witnesses and homosexuals were also persecuted during this era. On 14th July 1933, the sterilization law was passed allowing for compulsory sterilization. Estimates for the number of involuntary sterilizations during the whole of the Third Reich range from 3 lakh to 4 lakh. In September 1935, the Nuremberg laws were passed that said that only those of German or kindred blood could be citizens. Marriages between Germans and Jews or related blood was proscribed. By the end of 1938, approximately half of the German Jewish population had left. In October 1939, Hitler signed a euthanasia decree allowing a program of involuntary euthanasia, later named Acton T4. And between 1939 and 1945, at least 250,000 mentally or physically disabled patients were killed under the program, including children. On 9th and 10th November 1938, Kristallnacht or Night of the Broken Glass unfolded in Germany. Thousands of Jewish shops were looted, synagogues burnt, and hundreds of Jews were killed. In September 1939, the German army occupied the western half of Poland, gaining control of an additional 2 million Jews. The German police soon forced them into ghettos and gave their properties to ethnic Germans, Germans from the Reich or Polish Gentiles. In addition to widespread unemployment, poverty and hunger, overpopulation made the ghettos breeding grounds for disease. Beginning 1941, Jews from all over the continent as well as hundreds of thousands of European gypsies were transferred to Polish ghettos. In June 1941, the German invasion of the Soviet Union led to the setting up of mobile killing units that murdered more than 5 lakh Soviet Jews and others. Beginning September 1941, every person designated as a Jew in German-held territory was marked with a yellow star, making them open targets. 1941 onwards, mass gassings began at concentration camps. Over 3 million Jews are estimated to have been murdered in 1942 alone. Victims usually arrived at the extermination camps by freight train. They were later buried en masse in pits. Almost all Jews arriving at Belzec, Sobibor or Treblinka were sent directly to the gas chambers, while some able-bodied ones were saved for manual labor.
Kind of concentration camp where people of other communities, other ethnicities, those who were not fitting within the framework of the German definition, racial superiority, they were sent in a kind of, in a garb in which they were murdered or killed. However, when they had to do it at a mass scale, there were kind of factories which were killing millions of people. If you look into the history, into the archives, you will find that there are such horrifying images which really disturb you so much about people, about number of people being killed at one go. And this was done in order to annihilate the outgroup. Now, what is very disturbing about Holocaust particularly is that one is the figure, which is about the millions of people. The second is that they had a variety of types of killings. And when they had to do it on mass scale, they called it as extermination camp, where you just can't shoot thousands of people in a day. Even the shooter used to get tired and some things like that. And so they would have gas chambers, they would burn them, they would dig a big mass grave.
In January 1942, the Wannsee Conference was held to plan the final solution to the Jewish question, which turned out to be the annihilation of the remaining Jews in Germany and German-occupied territories by a combination of forced labor and mass murders. In Auschwitz alone, more than 2 million people were murdered in a process resembling a large-scale industrial operation. From January to April 1945, the Jewish inmates were sent on death marches to camps in Germany and Austria, killing 250,000 on the way. After the war, the German soldiers destroyed gas chambers and dug up graves to hide the massacre. Liberation came for the Jews after years of persecution as Allied forces advanced. Auschwitz was liberated by the Soviets on January 27, 1945, where they found 7,000 inmates in the 3 main camps and 500 in sub-camps. Other camps were liberated by the Americans and the British, but not before around 1/3 of the world's Jewish population was killed in the most brutal way. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
After the Second World War, the top surviving German leaders were tried for Nazi Germany crimes, including those of the Holocaust. Their trial was held before an international military tribunal in Nuremberg in Germany. Judges from all 4 Allied powers, Great Britain, France, the Soviet Union and the United States, presided over the hearing of 22 major Nazi criminals. In all, 199 defendants were tried at Nuremberg, 161 were convicted and 37 were sentenced to death.
The Nuremberg trials were a series of military tribunals held after World War II under international law and the laws of war. The trials conducted by the Allied forces were known for the prosecution of prominent members of the political, military, judicial and economic leadership of Nazi Germany. These leaders were all charged with planning, carrying out or otherwise having participated in the Holocaust and other war crimes. The trials were held in Nuremberg in Germany, and their decisions marked a turning point between classical and contemporary international law.
The Nuremberg trials were the trials which were done after the end of the Second World War, and here those people, those who were involved in the war crimes, they were tried by the Allies, that is US, France, UK and Russia.
The first and best known of the Nuremberg trials was held between 20th November 1945 and 1st October 1946. The tribunal was given the task of trying 24 of the highest-ranking political and military leaders of the Third Reich. However, the Nazis' highest authority, the person most to blame for the Holocaust, was missing at the trials. Adolf Hitler had committed suicide in the final days of the war, as had several of his closest aides. Many more criminals were never tried, some had fled abroad, some had committed suicide, and some went missing. Adolf Hitler and Joseph Goebbels had both committed suicide in the spring of 1945 to avoid capture. Martin Bormann, who had died in May 1945, was tried in absentia. Another defendant, Robert Ley, committed suicide within a week of the trial's commencement. Heinrich Himmler attempted to commit suicide but was captured before he could succeed, although he did kill himself one day after being arrested by British forces. Heinrich Müller disappeared the day after Hitler's suicide. He was the most senior figure of the Nazi regime, whose fate still remains unknown. Reinhard Heydrich had been assassinated by Czech partisans in 1942. Josef Terboven killed himself in Norway in 1945. Adolf Eichmann fled to Argentina to avoid capture but was apprehended and hanged after a trial in Jerusalem in 1962. The main target of the prosecution was Hermann Göring, considered to be the most important surviving official of the Third Reich after Hitler's death. He was sentenced to death but committed suicide by swallowing cyanide the day before his execution. In all, some 200 German war crimes defendants were tried at Nuremberg and 1,600 others were tried under the traditional channels of military justice. The jurisdiction of the court was defined by the instrument of surrender of Germany. Leipzig and Luxembourg were briefly considered as the locations for the trial. The Soviet Union had wanted the trials to take place in Berlin as the capital city of the fascist conspirators, but Nuremberg was chosen as the site for two reasons. One, the Palace of Justice at Nuremberg was spacious and largely undamaged, and a large prison was also part of the complex. And second, and probably the more important reason, was that Nuremberg was considered the ceremonial birthplace of the Nazi Party. This was the place where the Nuremberg laws were passed, thus it was considered a fitting place to mark the party's symbolic demise.
Particularly because Nuremberg was the place where it is said that Nazi party emerged. So they used to hold their annual propaganda rallies at Nuremberg, one. And the other was that there was a place, a particular place which was quite big for conducting these kind of trials. And who were the people who were tried? Those people, those who were politically connected at that point of time, or those who were businessmen or were rich, or military officials, or those who were the part of Third Reich, those who were left.
Each of the four Allied powers provided one judge and an alternative, as well as a prosecutor for the trial. The Nuremberg indictments were for participation in a common plan or conspiracy for the accomplishment of a crime against peace, planning, initiating and waging wars of aggression and other crimes against peace, participating in war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Of the 12 defendants sentenced to death by hanging, 2 were not hanged. Martin Bormann was convicted in absentia and Hermann Göring committed suicide the night before the execution. The remaining 10 defendants sentenced to death were hanged. The death sentences were carried out on 16 October 1946 by hanging in the gymnasium of the court building.
All these four Allied countries, they had one judge each and an alternative, and these people used to take up large number of cases in order to see that a person has committed a particular crime in war, and from there only we see emergence of Nuremberg principles and like a military tribunal also acting and also working on the international law. And those are the points of time in history from where many of the international conventions related to war crimes and other things have come about. They have come into existence.
The Nuremberg trials created a blueprint that would be followed afterward by the United Nations for the development of an international jurisprudence in matters of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and wars of aggression, and finally led to the creation of the International Criminal Court. For the first time in international law, the Nuremberg indictments also mentioned genocide. The definition of what constitutes a war crime is also described by the Nuremberg Principles, a set of guidelines which was created as a result of the trial. With inputs from Vipul Agarwal, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
So that's it from us today in